So, as he said, we don't have the moderator, so we are going to try to moderate ourselves, even if we are not moderated. So, I start saying we are gonna talk about several things. First, we are going to introduce each other. Second, we are going to try to define what is deep tech to be sure that we all talk the same thing. The third one is we want to explain why there is an opportunity on investing on deep tech projects. Four, we are going to explain which are the differences between investing on deep tech and investing in other type of technological, no so deep digital companies. And at the end, we are going to give examples of companies we have invested in and try to learn from them. So, Roberto, can you start introducing yourself?
Yes. Hi, Roberto St. Malo. Have been in venture capital for some 20 plus years. Investing experience in Israel, Spain, Europe, US, Latin America. I invest in deep tech and not deep tech, generalist. And since 2011, investing as beta angels. And I guess what sets us apart is that our investor group is basically people that are practitioners, company builders themselves, and yep, having a lot of fun.
So I'm Yuval. I'm from Israel and coming to Spain quite often. I'm in venture capital only 15 years, so a bit less than Roberto. Before that, I was a practicing medical doctor. I used to be a surgeon before I crossed the line into the dark side of venture capital. I'm the managing partner and the co-founder of a fund in Israel called Crescendo Venture Partners. We're investing in early stage in Israel. And I'm the co-founder of Swan Love Venture Factory, which is a fund, early stage, B2B tech that invests here in Madrid, only in Spanish entities. So I have the experience of knowing what the difference even between Europe and Israel. And among other, in my previous life, I also be a CEO of a deep tech company. So I know how it means on being both sides of the table.
So I'm Javier Ulesi, I'm founder of Bullnet Capital. We started this project 20 years ago in 1st of October 2001. So I think we are the oldest VC alive in Spain. And we are a couple of engineers, so I mean, profile very, very, very technical with not only background academically, but also experience working on high-tech companies. And we invest only in Spanish companies, deep tech. We will explain what does it mean, and at very early stages. So having a lot of hands-on activity, trying to help the founders of the companies we invest in, who are normally scientists or very technical people. We manage 3 funds, over 100 million euros, and we are now raising our 4th fund. So if you want to invest, you are more than welcome.
And if you have some money left, you are funding our fund number 2 as well, so you need to split.
So what is deep tech for you,
yes,
Yuval?
So deep tech actually, it's quite a broad spectrum of understanding for different people. I think that the definition itself, when it started, was with very high sophisticated technology that needs a lot of research and a lot of money before it can be a product. I think that's the most broad definition of deep tech. What happened is that a few years ago, software made a tremendous leap with AI and deep learning, etc. And actually what up to a few years ago was considered deep tech, today is a commodity. Everybody can do very deep research. But I think still the definition of time, money, and eventually a disruption, it's still what brings together deep tech.
Roberto?
You know, I guess formally, deep tech is, I tried to encapsulate it for myself over the past 24 hours, is a venture that entails a very significant scientific or engineering challenge. And to follow up on Yuval's point, yes, this used to require a lot of research, a lot of R&D, funds. And I was thinking back through my, most deep tech experiences of the past years, 3 of them in Israel, by the way. And And actually, one of them is with a team of 4 that left a cybersecurity company, bootstrapped their company, became global leaders in their field before looking for funding. 3 years later, for different reasons, they've looked for that funding. So just to underscore how dramatically things have changed in terms of what people can do in a concerted way, focusing on significant, and these guys that have bootstrapped their company, a company called Grayshift, have done this, completely on their own, and are taking on. They're one of a group of 4 doing this at a global level. Their peers have been at it for much longer. In some cases, literally more than a decade.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, here in Spain, we have been fighting since 20 years ago. For the last 20 years, trying to differentiate between, we talk about technological projects, and this is very broad. For example, for me, and I hope that this is not going to put anybody on bad shape, but for me, Globo or Cabify, these are not technological companies. These are companies that are disrupting their business model using technology, but they are not selling technology. They are selling services, and they are using new ways of reaching the customers. It's like saying that Santander is a technological company because they use a lot of IT and software and things like that. For us, a deep tech company or high-tech company is a company that is really selling a product which is difficult to replicate, which has a lot of R&D behind and a lot of brain from people that are normally not entrepreneurs, but they are technical scientists. They are people coming from the universities or coming from research centers, spin-offs from there. So that's the type of companies that we consider deep tech, and has nothing to do with the others that we have said and all what we understand as the technical companies in the digital world, which are for sure very respectful, but they are not for us what we call deep tech. Why is deep tech an interesting place to invest in?
Roberto?
I was. There's interesting, especially if you're a generalist. There's interesting stuff in deep tech and not deep tech, and the boundary sometimes is a bit blurry. Personally, I've had my best experiences, returns-wise and overall, with Deeptech Ventures, and I think when you're looking at a deep tech venture, maybe one reason why it can be a very interesting space is the basics are the same, but you just need to get things more right. There has to be a strong team. Normally it's about teams. Normally one person is not enough. In Israel, I've worked with somebody who is a chief scientist, David Mendlovich, 3 times. And yet, and he's technically very competent, yet he relies on a technical team to get technical stuff done, Gal Shabtai, for instance. So in deep tech, in good deep tech ventures, you tend to find and need very strong teams. Also, it also, I think, forces you to have a special relationship with the team at hand. Many times, or almost never will your technical competence be a match for the technical competence of the team at hand. So I think you're forced to really have a strong link that is broader based, and as always, that's an important basic when backing a venture. Working with the right people, working with the right dynamics. Those would be some thoughts on.
Why do you invest in deep tech instead of an e-commerce B2C platforms?
Very simple. I'm a geek. I think that the reason, I guess, that the majority of the VCs became VCs is the passion for technology. Because if it was a passion for money, you go work for the stock exchange or do something else. I think our main passion is technology, and since we don't have good ideas of our own, we invest in others. And I think that's why deep tech is so interesting, because that's the place when you can be in the tip of being a VC, really find, crystallize those ideas, and in some cases even help them evolve into a company. And that's what, at least for me, what makes me tick, the technology aspect of it, the sheer experience of inventing something new. I think that's far and foremost most interesting. To have another business model, as Javier said, it's nice, not thrilling, but nice. We are looking for the thrill. And I think that's why deep tech is so interesting. In some cases, it requires a lot of time and money, so eventually this thrill can take for a while until you really feel the rush. But that's another thing, that if you are keen on technology, you can feel the rush, even if the company fails eventually. Still, being in the tip and being involved in such cutting-edge technology is just great.
Javier, if I can add one more thought there.
Yeah.
Sorry to jump in.
It's not going to be my argument. So,
I think there's something else that you know that maybe deep tech brings out more clearly, and when you get it right, and you know, there's more transparency with Deeptech Ventures many times than other spaces, but that's the clarity of the go-to-market effort. I think one of the biggest challenges in a deep tech venture is when you have many commercial avenues. So with good deep tech ventures, you tend to find great clarity in terms of how the technology is brought to market. Obviously, there are lots of exceptions, but to me, that's been a relevant reality.
When we pitch to potential investors of our funds, and now we are doing it, we have to justify why investing on deep tech is interesting for them from a financial perspective. And what we say is, well, first, the world has no boundaries from a technical perspective anymore, and after pandemic, it's even more evident. So you can sell to a Korean company from a company in Valladolid. If you have the product, the technology that they really need, they have pain, they have a problem, and you have it. I mean, this sentence of you're not going to be far if you buy IBM is no more true. I mean, you can find and you can buy to small companies. That's one thing. The other one is the big corporations are not doing any more R&D. They are doing M&A. I mean, they don't have the talent. I mean, talent go to the startups. The small company is more flexible, more rewarded for them, because if it works, they are going to become rich, et cetera, et cetera. So there is a problem in the big companies, and they have to solve it buying small companies or startups. The startups needs money. They need money, and the money comes from VCs. You can have friends and family, you can have loans, whatever you want, but if you have a 10 years product development, you need the big money from VCs. So this is like a virtuous circle, because the companies need money from the VCs, and the corporations need to buy those companies. So there is a clear exit path if you have something which is unique. So that's for sure very clear. The only thing is that you have to find the right companies which have the unique solution that the big companies want to buy. That's.
I want to echo something Roberto said about the go-to-market. I think every good venture started from a pain. First of all, you need to understand the pain, and then to find a technology that can answer this pain. In many cases, researchers, especially university professors and many of the people that are deep in the lab or in the research part, have a good idea, but they don't know what to do with it. And in most cases, when you go and start with the technology and try to find what to do with it, eventually you end up with something nice, but not really the big winner, because you need to answer a pain. And that's what one of the challenges we have in deep tech, that in many cases you have to envision where the market is going to be, because it's not just imminent few months away from you, it will be a few years until you will be in the market. So you must have a kind of vision, as an investor at least, to say that the pain they are addressing will still be a valid pain a few years down the road. And another thing, that's why deep tech is something to look for. If you do something which is only 20%, 50% better than the current solution in the market, by the time you will be in the market, it's too late. So you must look for technologies that are 200%, 300%, 500% better that current solution offer. And that's the challenge that we have as deep tech investor, to have this vision, to have this understanding that this technology can disrupt not the current market, but the future market a few years ahead of us.
That's very important, yes. And very difficult. Which are the differences between investing on a pure deep tech company in terms of the team you find, the market you find, maybe it doesn't exist, the money you need, the time to commercialization, time to exit, compared to other type of investments that you have done, or you know people that have done?
It's interesting to see that Roberto said that his best returns eventually came up from deep tech, because when you add the level of uncertainties in each one of the sectors when we look for an investment, usually we assess the team, the market, and the technology. Let's say that each one of them is only 90% capable, then the likelihood of success is less than 50%, because you multiply it. In deep tech, just the technology part is somewhere in the 50 or 40%, so by definition, the likelihood of success in deep tech investment should be less than 20%. And if you have here an example that eventually you can make money out of deep tech, I think that's the most important part, because if you choose right, once you do it, that's high risk, high reward by clear definition.
Let me give you a little more flavor on my experience. It basically comes down to 5 ventures, and really 3 of those are consecutive ventures working with essentially the same team. So the times number 2 and number 3 still ongoing, by the way. We had the advantage of having worked with the team before, which is a great luxury. In another of the cases, the company was already growing at more than 100% and profitable, so that was a little bit easier. And they continue to have lots of deep tech stuff in the pipeline. The third case actually is with an Israeli doing his second venture out of Boston in electrophysiology. And here, some of the fundamentals remain the same. You want to know the people you're going to work with. In the case of Doron Harlev, his mentor, longtime mentor, was on the board of Core Photonics, a deep tech investment. So over literally a couple of years, informally, we had the chance to hear about Doron's earlier venture and eventual exit to Boston Scientific. So when the opportunity came about to work with him, we de facto had done due diligence formally for a couple of years. So yeah, I think the risks you point out, Yuval, are very well calibrated. However, when you can end up having the opportunity or enjoying the circumstance of really understanding where the team is coming from, that's just such a great extra to have on your side.
Trying to answer my question of which are the differences between a deep tech company with another type of tech company. I mean, the team, the founders are deep tech people, so they are not marketing people, they are not financial guys, they are not entrepreneurs, they don't have experience normally of launching companies, they are scientists. So this is a very special type of people that you have to know how to deal with them. And maybe during the life of the company, 95% of the people are going to be technical people, scientists. You are not going to have other profile, because what you are selling is so technical that you need people with deep knowledge of the technology. And so that's very, very important. I mean, when you compare with the big startups that are very successful, the founders are people coming from consulting, they are coming from marketing, they have an idea and they execute it. Here, the idea, it doesn't work. Here, what works is really the knowledge and the IP and the patents and all the stuff that has nothing to do with the beautiful things of marketing, of sales, etc. This is one thing. The other one is that most of the companies we have had, and we'll give a couple of examples afterwards, they are bought before becoming profitable. As I said, all the big corporations are scouting for new technologies that they have to or want to incorporate. And once you have demonstrated that you are able to sell to some good references and you have clients that have paid for your products, you are already a target for those companies that they are not buying you because you have tens of millions in revenues and EBITDAs that are very positive, but because you have technology and team and products that are something that when you integrate it in their structures, they can multiply by orders of magnitude the sales because of the financial strength, because of the commercial reach, because of the reputation, because of the customer base, etc., etc. So that has nothing to do with the KPIs that investors or buyers are looking on other type of companies that you need to have hundreds, thousands subscribers or people paying or whatever. Here, you have to have demonstrated that you have something that customers are willing to pay for. But you don't need to demonstrate that hundreds of customers have paid before being attractive for an exit. At the end, we are divestors. Our only objective in life is to divest from the investments we've made. And so remember that.
We have 5 minutes, so maybe you said about some examples.
Well, I would say one company, the first spin-off in Spain from the Research Council called Anafocus, 20 years of research within the Research Council, and they decided to make a spin-off, and we started with them during 1 year developing a plan, really which was the opportunity, 10 years view, etc., etc. We invested in this company. We stayed almost 9 years. We pivoted 3 times. So, I mean, the technology at the very beginning, we thought that the applications was one, but at the end, we found other ways. And 9 years after, one of the biggest companies in the world in the electronic space, Teledyne, they decided that this small company based in Sevilla of 40 people, they had something unique, and they paid tens of million euros for a company that was doing EBITDA negative and a few million euros in revenue. So an example of, and Teledyne, they have now in Sevilla, they have the R&D pole for imagers, which was what this company was doing, and they have grown the team by 3 or 4 times, and they are investing very heavy. This a little bit the Israeli model of big corporations buying small companies and developing R&D centers in the country. No?
Yes, and I think this model eventually, when we talk about Spain, I think this will be the most contributor if you want to evolve an ecosystem. You need the presence of these big multinational teams here. And I think seeing Spain for the last almost 10 years.
You know why Spain, Deeptech is interesting at the worldwide level, but in Spain even more, because we don't have multinationals, technical multinationals. So if you are an engineer and you want to work on research, or either you migrate or you work for this small company. So one of the advantages is that the loyalty of the people is much higher than in other countries where there are so many opportunities, and this is one thing. And the other one is that the cost of an engineer here in Spain is 1/3, 1/4 of what you can have to pay in other countries. So I think Spain
I'm ready to write my check.
No, you have to do it, yeah.
I want to tell a story that I think that encapsulates all of the challenges, but also the promise that is within Deeptech, a company that we were involved with. three very bright engineers that were part of M-System. M-System is the company that invented the pen drive, the disk on key. And they knew the market very well from the technical perspective. They came with a very, very nice idea how to solve one of the most eminent problems of about 5-6 years ago, how to manage on large scale flash memory, so data centers can use flash memory. And they had a great idea how to do it on a presentation level. They needed a lot of money for that, and we told them, listen, you lack the business experience. Go find yourself a co-founder from the business side and come back to us. They came back after half a year, say, listen, we found nobody. What should we do? So just before we kicked them off the door, we said, you know what, let us help you a bit. We picked the phone and called a guy we knew that just sold this company. We called him. He was just on a hammock in Mexico, saying, listen, I'm done with startups. Leave me alone. Eventually, we managed to convince him to join as a co-founder, and he joined. The company was called Extreme.io, and they started doing what they did. 2.5 years later, after only about $10 million of investment, for a hardware company, that's a very small amount. They had only one beta site that doesn't really work, 0 revenues. It's not even EBITDA negative, 0 revenues, nothing. And they came an offer from a big company called NetApp. NetApp said, listen, we are willing to pay $120 million for this. So I guess that most people here will said, once I get this offer, we said yes. This very savvy CEO said no. But on the other hand, just called EMC, which is the main competitor of them. And in a matter of 3 weeks, the offer went from 120 to $500 million. At that point in time, we said yes, of course. But then the CEO said, listen, we have a problem. NetApp that gave the $500 million offer indeed is offering $500 million, but they will kill the project. If we'll take the lower offer of only $440 million by EMC, they will continue the project. So eventually we said, okay, and we went for the lower offer, so we left on the table $60 million just for the team to know that they can continue their dream. We made enough money. And now, by the way, this is the best-selling product of EMC. They sell about $5 billion a year just of this product, beside more than 1,000 engineers working for that in Israel. So I think that's in one story that can encapsulate what is Deeptech all about.
I have a question for both of you.
You have 10 seconds.
How often are the teams you're working with in Deeptech repeat teams, repeat entrepreneurs? Because I find that makes a huge difference.
Well, we have invested on the first company. We sold it to Ericsson, and the founders, they went to Ericsson a couple of years. They founded another company that was sold to Samsung, and we are waiting for them. So we are trying to really invest in our own repeated entrepreneurs.
Indeed, I think it's a key success factor because the experience is something to reckon with, and that's very important. Thank you very much.
We are done. Thank you.
We're over time. Thank you.